This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good morning, Rabbi Glatstein. So here we are. We're ready in Chodesh Kislev, and I want to speak out an interesting inyan that's nagea to Chanukah, and that is, we know there are two Gemaras in Shas. One Gemara tells us that on Yom Tif there's a mitzvah to learn about the Yom Tif. Where is this Gemara? The Gemara at the end of Masechta Megillah. The Gemara says, Soif Megillah, on Daf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, the last Gemara Masechta Megillah. Vayidaber Moshe es Mayadei Hashem el Bnei Yisrael, mitzvasan sheyu koirin oisan kolecha ve'echad bezmanoi. From the pasuk of Vayidaber Moshe es Mayadei Hashem, we learn there's a mitzvah to learn about the Yom Tif on the Yom Tif. Tan Rabbanan, Moshe tikein lahem liYisrael, sheyu shoyalin v'darshan, they should ask and expound b'inyanoi shel yom, hilchos Pesach b'Pesach, hilchos Atzeres b'Atzeres, hilchos Chag b'Chag. So on Yom Tif, not only should one learn about the Yom Tif, one is required to learn the halachos of the Yom Tif. That is the halacha that we learn out from Vayidaber Moshe es Mayadei Hashem el Bnei Yisrael. That's number one. Number two, there's another Gemara in Psachim on Vav Amud Aleph. Kedetanya shoyalin v'darshim hilchos haPesach kodem Pesach shloishim yom. You should learn 30 days before. So there are two halachos. One is to learn about hilchos Pesach on Pesach. One is to learn about hilchos Pesach 30 days before Pesach. So you ask, Rabbi, are you a little confused? Pesach ain't coming. It's Chanukah. Well, no, that's exactly the point. What I want to know is, do these mitzvahs apply to Chanukah? Meaning, is there a mitzvah to learn hilchos Chanukah on Chanukah? And is there a mitzvah to learn about hilchos Chanukah 30 days before Chanukah? That's primarily what I would like to discuss briefly. Is there such a mitzvah to learn about hilchos Chanukah 30 days before? If there is, then we're a little bit late, but at least we could still fulfill it. Okay, so let's begin in the following way. Let's start with the why do we have two Gemaras about Pesach? One Gemara that you should learn hilchos Pesach on Pesach, and one that we should learn 30 days before. And the obvious answer is that it's two different halachos. One is you should learn the halachos on Pesach, and one is you should learn 30 days before. So it's not a stira, just two different halachos. Now, before we discuss whether it applies to Chanukah, let's discuss, does it apply to any other Yom Tif? Right. Or is it only Pesach? Now, regarding the Yomim Tovim, it says, Shoylin v'darshim and Yanei shel yom. The Gemara says explicitly, it applies to the Shalish Regalim. But maybe you would say, if it's learned out of a pasuk, then it only applies to Yomim Tovim D'Oraisa. Would it apply to Chanukah and Purim? Meaning, is there a mitzvah to learn Hilchos Purim on Purim and Hilchos Chanukah on Chanukah? So let's see a Gemara on Daf Daled in Masechta Megillah. The Gemara says like this. It says a Helaga Gemara. Shavuos. The Gemara says like this. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Purim shechal liyos b'Shabbos. Purim comes out on Shabbos. Now, are you going to learn the Megillah on Shabbos? No. Shoyalin v'darshin b'inyanei shel yom. At the very least, you're going to be shoyal and doresh the inyan of the day. Meaning you're going to learn the halachos. Says Rashi, Ma'amidin Torgaman Lefnei HaChacham. We appoint a Torgaman, Lidrosh Igeres Purim Barabim. So Rashi learns to darshan the Megillah. So if you can't learn the Megillah, then at least you should darshan the Megillah. But the Rosh says, no, it means to learn the halachos of Purim. So according to the Rosh, the Gemara is saying, if Purim comes out on Shabbos, even though you can't learn the Megillah, at the very least you should learn Hilchos Megillah. And then the Gemara asks, Ma'ir Purim, why Purim? I feel Yom Tif Nami, any Yom Tif. You need to learn the halachos. Like the Brisa says in Daf Lamed Beis, Moshe was masakin that you should be shoyal v'doresh b'inyanei shel yom, hilchos Pesach b'Pesach, hilchos Atzeres b'Atzeres, hilchos Chag b'Chag. Says the Gemara, no, it needs to teach me a chiddush for Purim. other Yamim Tovim, of course you have to learn the Halachos on Yom Tov. But I would think on Purim, that falls out on Shabbos, you wouldn't be allowed to learn Hilchos Purim. Why? The same way you're not allowed to learn, lay in the Megillah, because we're afraid you might carry the Megillah. I would think you're not allowed to learn the Halachos, because you might carry the Mishnah Berurah, right? The same way you're not allowed to lay in the Megillah on Yom Tif, you shouldn't be allowed to learn the halachos possibly on Yom Tif. That's what I would think, because you might come to carry. Kamash Malan, we're only worried you're going to carry the Megillah. We're not worried you're going to carry the Mishnah Berurah or the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. What do you see clearly from this Gemara? You see clearly from this Gemara that the halacha that you need to learn Hilchos Yom Tif on Yom Tif applies not only to the Shalosh Regalim, but applies to Purim as well.
Hanukkah too, no?
Very good. So comes the Pnei Yeshua. Is there a Pnei Yeshua over here? Don't worry that you can't see me. I'm still in the room. Comes the Pnei Yeshua, and the Pnei Yeshua says that if you see from this Gemara that applies to Purim, Hu Hadin, Chanukah, it would apply to Chanukah as well.
Why did they use Purim as the drasha? They could have said if Shabbos falls out on Chanukah. Could have asked the same question, right?
Because the Masechta Megillah, there is no Masechta Chanukah, right? I mean, it's a Masechta Megillah. Here, let's find the Pnei Yeshua. Pnei Yeshua says, I'm sorry. So, Pnei Yeshua is in Masechta Megillah on Daf Daled. Let's see if we can find it here. Sorry, just bear with me. Says the Holy Pnei Yeshua. Okay, here it is. V'shamin on miha, we see midamaksha hashas my area purim afilu yom tif nami alma de'in lechalek bein da'iraisa lidrabanan and came bechanukah nami mitzvah lishal v'lidroish menyanai shal yaim. So from here we learn out that the mitzvah of darshaning hilchos yom tif b'yom tif applies not only by da'iraisas but applies by the rabbanans, and thereby it would apply by Chanukah as well. Now, interestingly, this Gemara, is it lahalacha? Yeah, the Rambam in Hilchos Purim, Parak Aleph Halacha Yud Gimel, also in the Mishnah Berurah, Siman Tafresh Peches of Katan Tazayin, writes, Purim that comes out on the weekday. What about Purim that comes out on the weekday? Do you need to learn Hilchos Purim as well?
Why not?
No. Your Yotzei Al Yedei Kriyas HaMegillah. The Tosfos says over here, Dafka if Purim comes out on Shabbos. But B'chol, you don't have to, because you read the Megillah, and there is
And what do you do
Persume Nisa.
when there's no Megillah?
I mean, what do you do on Shabbos Chanukah? So maybe Taka, then you would have to learn the halachas.
I could argue maybe that with the Megillah, the
Yeah.
reason why you could learn is you have a mitzvah of Kriyas Megillah. You can't do the mitzvah because it's Shabbos.
Okay.
So as a substitute in a sense, you learn the hilchas of the Yom, the substitute of Megillah. But Chanukah, you have no other substitute. You're not going to light a candle. Nobody's going to tell you to do that. So there's no reason to substitute learning in Yom
Why?
as a substitute.
Why
You're
not?
missing anything.
Lighting. Also, you could.
You're lighting Friday night.
You're saying Chanukah, you're lighting anyway.
Yeah, so we.
Right, I hear that.
Argue that we say that you can learn on Shabbos on Purim if it could come out on Shabbos because you can't learn the Megillah. Should we say
I hear.
also that we should learn the Inyani of Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos where we can't blow the shofar? But we wouldn't say that on a weekday because we're not losing anything, not missing anything.
I mean, the Mishnah Berurah paskins that Sharlim v'darshan by b'yayim b'hilchas Purim kedei sheyizkaru inyan hayayim. So here's the issue. What's the reason why you would learn the halachos of Purim if Purim comes out on Shabbos? Is it to be mefarsem the nes? Now, if it's to be mefarsem the nes, then it might not apply to Chanukah. If it's to be mefarsem the nes, then it really has nothing to do with the takana Moshe Rabbeinu sheyu sharlim v'darshim b'inyanei shel chag b'chag, because the Rambam says it's kedei liskar inyanei shel yom, but the Gemara seems to say it's not just to remember the day, but it's from the takana of sharlim v'darshim b'inyanei shel yom b'yom. Now, what would you like to say?
Why can't I learn the Megillah on Shabbos without clapping and everything?
No, it's not because of clapping. We're afraid. Right? Because the Gemara says we make a gzeira that you might carry the Megillah to a baki if there's a mistake. The same way we don't blow the shofar on Shabbos, and we don't.
I'm going to carry.
Yeah, we don't take the lulav on Shabbos. Lamaisa, even though from this Gemara, the Gemara seems to say that you only have to learn the halachos when it comes out on Shabbos. And the Rishonim say you don't have to learn the halachos when Purim comes out during the week. Nevertheless, you do see from this Gemara that the din of Shayil and V'darshim and Yanei Shel Chag B'Chag applies to Purim, right? Because the Gemara says, why Purim? Any Yom Tif you should learn the halachos. Right. So that's an interesting concept. Now, what I want to know, and by the way, the Sha'as Tshuva Salmas Chayim in the Fus Chadash in Archaim Siman Shin Samach Vav says, even though you could argue on the Pnei Yeshua and say maybe you only have to learn the halachos by Purim because it's midivrei Kabbalah, but Chanukah is only midrabanan. Nevertheless, it's correct and obvious that you should follow and extend this takana to Chanukah as well, to learn the halachos of Chanukah on Chanukah. By the way, if you look in the Shiltais, in the end of Shota Chavav, the drasha for Chanukah, he says, Mechayvin Beis Yisrael, Lemikra B'Sifra, Ulagmure Ba'iraisa, Ulafture B'Navi. A Jew is obligated to read the Sefer, and to finish the Torah, and to be mafter on the Navi, every Yom Tif, on that Yom Tif. Pesach v'Pesach, Hilchos Atzeres v'Atzeres, Hilchos Chag b'Chag, like it says, Vayidaber Moshe es Mayadei Hashem al Bnei Yisrael. And it's a mitzvah that you should read each one bizmanoi, and darshan it, like the Rashba says. And the Shilta says, B'Chanukah Korin B'Nasiyim, B'Purim Vayavay Amalek. So what do you see from the Shiltas? That the takana of Moshe Rabbeinu, Sheyu Sharlim V'Darshim, seems to apply to Chanukah and Purim as well. And by the way, the Tzitz Eliezer in Chelek Yud Zayin Siman Aleph also says that this is explicit in Rabbeinu Yerucham, that V'Kavam L'Doiros, they establish Chanukah, it should be Yomim Tovim for Hallel and Haidah, and to be Mazkir the Halachos. So we see Befeirush that there's an inyan of learning Hilchos Chanukah and Chanukah. Also in the Ben Yehoyada, it says on the Gemara in Eruvin at the end of Daf Nadad, Rava Amar Asei Mayadim LaTorah, meaning you should learn Hilchos Pesach Pesach, says the Ben Yehoyada, and Hilchos Chanukah b'Chanukah. So, but my question is,
would you say that if the Purim came out on Shabbos, you would take out a second Sefer Torah and you would lane something, the laning of Purim? No, we do it on Chanukah. We should do it on Purim. That would be the Zecher of the Yom. So it never comes out on Shabbos. So before we fix
you want to know in the Krachim, because it only comes out in Shabbos to the walled cities, let's say in Yerushalayim, do you lane something on Chanukah? It sounds like you would.
Right?
It sounds like you would. Even though we don't lane the Megillah, because you might carry the Megillah, what about, you might carry the Sefer Torah? Unless they established it as a communal obligation. On a communal obligation, we're not worried that you might come to carry. Rabbi said, what I would like to discuss is, okay, now that we see that the takana of Moshe of learning the halachos on the Yom Tov applies to Chanukah, what about the other Gemara in Psachim that 30 days before. Does that apply to Chanukah? And I believe the answer to that is no. That does not apply to Chanukah. Why? Firstly, does it apply to other Yomim Tovim even? Because the Lashon of the Gemara is only Pesach. Does it apply to other Yomim Tovim?
Isn't it practical reason, Rabbi, the halachos of Pesach are so complex
Yeah.
that it takes much longer to actually go over?
Yeah, some say, correct. Beis Yosef says that Bechlal, that the Chiyuv Shloshim Yom is only for Pesach because they have halachos rabbis. Grinding the wheat, baking the matzah, Hagalas Kalim, and Bir Chametz. But there are Shitais who hold that it applies to other Yomim Tovim. Who says that? Rashi. And by the way, and the Gaon. However, Shavuos they say only, the Vilna Gaon says it's enough from Rosh Chodesh Sivan. But the question is, the Rishonim, Rashi and Tosfos seem to say in many places. Let's see in the Gemara Psachim. Rashi, the Sha'ar Tzion brings down in many places in Shas, and Tosfos in Masechta Megillah says clearly that the din of 30 days applies to all Yomim Tovim. But we're going to see from Tosfos that l'chayra it does not apply to Chanukah. Why? Listen to Tosfos. Because on the Gemara that we just learned, the Gemara says, why do you have to learn the halachos only on Purim? On every Yom Tov you have to learn the halachos. Meaning, says Tosfos, nirali, hachi perushai. Why Purim? That you don't have to darshan 30 days before, and therefore you have to darshan by b'yayim. Even other Yomim Tovim that you have to start 30 days before, you still have to do it by b'yayim. Listen to how Tosfos is learning the Gemara. Tosfos is saying, of course you have to learn Halachos Purim on Purim. Because if on Purim where you don't have to learn the Halachos 30 days before, meaning Purim is a smaller chiddush that you have to learn Hilchos Purim on Purim. Why? Because Purim you don't even have to learn it 30 days before. So you have to do it by b'yayim. But the other Yomim Tovim is a much bigger chiddush, that even though you have to learn it 30 days before, you still have to learn it also by b'yayim. That means, what do you see? That the din of learning 30 days before only applies to Yom Tovim Midairaisa, does not apply to Purim. Doesn't apply to Purim, l'chayra it doesn't apply to Chanukah as well. So that's the good news. That's why we could move on and go learn a different shiur, and we don't have to do Hilchos Chanukah now. Yes, it applies to Shavuos and Sukkot according to Tosfos, but according to Tosfos, it would not apply to Purim. And l'chayra, what we're saying is it wouldn't apply to Chanukah either. That's why we could conclude the shiur now, and we could start learning Hilchos Chanukah on Chanukah. Now, L'maisa, if you want to know Hilchos Chanukah, it's probably a good idea to start learning it before. But as a special legislation, you don't have to begin learning it 30 days before. Okay, have a good one.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.